Welcome to the College Football Halftime Show presented by iShares by BlackRock. I'm Aaron Sharoney with Leroy Horde. Leroy, plenty of action on tap today. We're going to take a look at some of the big games in play. The score right now in Oxford is 7-3. Ole Miss, and it's been a good game so far. We knew it was going to be a tough one, so let's check out some of the highlights from the first half. Here we are at Vaught Hemingway Stadium in Oxford. Ole Miss driving, but Bo Wallace is, wait for it, intercepted by Calhoun in the end zone. And here Bo Wallace tries again, and he hits Evan Ingram for 46 yards. Ingram takes it away. He is down at the 1. Here Wallace tries the sneak. He is called down short of the goal line, and here's that replay. And
give it to him.
There you go. They gave it to him. Touchdown, 7-0 Ole Miss. Mississippi State's Evan Sobiesk makes a 45-yard field goal here, bringing it 7-3 Ole Miss. And here's Bo Wallace going deep again. He hits Vince Sanders for 30 yards, but watch this replay. Doesn't look good for Vince Sanders. Obviously hurt on the replay. Doubtful to return. Looks like he really twisted that ankle there.
They can't afford to lose any
No,
more
they can't.
receivers.
And on fourth down, Mississippi State's Dak Prescott gets stuffed by Ole Miss, just like that Thanksgiving turkey that you guys just had. What do you think, Leroy?
Well, listen, there's some opportunities out there for Ole Miss, and they could be up a little bit more than they are. Defensively, they're shutting down Mississippi State. Mississippi State's got to take more chances and try to do more with what they're doing. Ole Miss, keep doing what you're doing. Keep showing the energy. Bo Wallace, don't turn the ball over.
Yeah, no, not
and
good.
Ole Miss has an excellent chance of winning this football game.
Sure do. Elsewhere in the SEC, Missouri took care of business on Friday to clinch the SEC East. For more on their win, let's check in with Carter Blackburn and Aaron Taylor right now.
That's a heck of a way to celebrate Senior Day. 18 straight for Missouri to win it 21-14 over Arkansas. The Tigers claim the SEC East Division title. Carter Blackburn, Aaron Taylor, this recap for CBSSports.com. Fourth quarter team, right? Missouri proves it 15 unanswered. They take the East.
This is what Gary Pinkel coach teams do. They find a way to win. They hadn't run the ball all game, but when they needed to in the second half, they found a way to get it done. And their defense that had been making plays all season for them consistently, at the end of the day, forced a turnover that's sending them to Atlanta.
Let's take a look at the final stats, and keep in mind when you look at those rush yards for Missouri, almost all of those rushing yards were in the fourth quarter to help the Tigers ice them.
Marcus Murphy on those stretch plays with the pin and pull scheme, where they pull the center out to get him to the second level, was devastating that Arkansas defense. It was forcing them to run laterally, but in the end, when they needed it the most, it was Missouri's offensive line that took over this ball game, not Arkansas's.
The clinching play of this game. Originally, Collins is ruled down. So this is Arkansas running the football, trying to have an opportunity to tie the game. Collins fumbles, Golden recovers. That was the judgment on review.
And what's so incredible is that Collins was fumbling the football, but Golden was on an inside stunt. He fought through two blockers to get back to be able to make a play, and it was that same determination and unwillingness to lose that gets Missouri the SEC champions.
A 21-14 win for the Tigers over the Arkansas Razorbacks. Celebration time in Columbia. For more, go to CBSSports.com.
The question here is, can Missouri hang with either Alabama or Mississippi State? What do you think?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Georgia was the clear-cut favorite to win the East, and Missouri has won the East. So you have to give them a chance. So I think there are a couple of teams that are better in the West, but the way they play and how they find a way, it's always a different way that they end up winning football games. And when you have that versatility, that means that you can compete with anybody.
If Missouri were to win next week, how would the playoffs shake out?
No team from the SEC would be represented in the final playoff.
Even if it's a close game with Alabama?
Nope. Because I think
decisive answer from Missouri.
Well, here's why. Because I think that Mississippi State, if they go on to win this game, they will not have won the SEC championship. And because everybody is making a big deal about winning your conference, it's going to be hard to take a Mississippi State team and put them above a Missouri team who won the SEC. So all these other teams that are playing for their conferences, you look at Baylor, you look at TCU, you look at, Ohio State, it's still, who knows what Ohio State's going to do. They're going to jump over Mississippi State and the other teams if, a one-loss team doesn't win the SEC.
What if Florida State also loses?
They're done. They're out. I mean, Florida State, listen, they dropped Florida State and they're undefeated and haven't lost a game in 2 years. So if they lose a game, just imagine how far they're going to drop because of the strength of the ACC.
All right, well, we'll have more on that game after the break. Remember, everybody, download the CBS Sports app for instant score stats and late-breaking news from all of today's games. Get it now at cbssportsapp.com and stick around because Leroy and I will be right back with more debate after the break. We'll see you then. Welcome back to the College Football Halftime Show presented by iShares by BlackRock. I'm Aaron Sharoni, joined by Leroy Horde. The score in Oxford is 7-3, Ole Miss. But, of course, the other big game in the SEC West tonight is the Iron Bowl between Auburn and Alabama. For more on that game, let's check in with our College Football Today crew up in New York.
Hey, Adam Zucker, Spencer Tillman, and Brian Jones from our College Football Today studios in New York. Our CBSSports.com Saturday spotlight shines on the Iron Bowl. Number 15, Auburn, at number 1, Alabama. The winner of this game has claimed 4 of the last 5 BCS championships. Auburn's out of it. Alabama clinches the SEC West in a spot in the conference title game with a win. Last year, the Tigers pulled off the Iron Bowl miracle, the big kick 6. Do they have another one in them, Spencer?
I don't know. I mean, the thing that you want to do when you come into this matchup is do what you do best. Last year, they were number 1, BJ, in the nation in rushing the football. They're 7th this year, down 62 yards per game, juxtaposed last year. So that's going to be a big issue. I still think it's going to come down to the quarterback play. Blake Sims has done a fantastic job for Lane Kiffin and the Alabama Crimson Tide, and Nick Marshall has done an excellent job as well. But the numbers, when you factor in the fact of what they do, their philosophy, Nick is going to throw it less. But look at the number of interceptions that he has right there. 73 more times does Blake Sims throw the ball than Nick Marshall, yet he has fewer interceptions than does Marshall. So because of the struggle with the running game, I think they're going to have to pass the ball more. That's going to be problematic because their defense has had problems. We know that. Yeah. But in the last couple of weeks now, the offense is starting to hemorrhage.
Yeah, Auburn's defense has been woeful these last 5 or 6 ball games. But juxtapose that with Alabama's defense. Alabama fans have to be ecstatic because they're sitting there atop the SEC like they have done the previous 5 years. And rush TDs, only 2 on the year have they allowed. Auburn rose into this ball game having rushed for 29 rush TDs, but they're 2 weeks ago versus Georgia, 150 yards rushing, only 1 touchdown on the ground. K-State held them to under 200 yards rushing and no rushing touchdowns. I love Reggie Ragland on this defense. Their leading tackler for Alabama, Xavier Dixon, leads them in tackles for loss and sacks. This defense is playing like they always have under Nick Saban. It's going to be tough duty for all of them.
Yep, and those 2 rushing touchdowns allowed, 5 fewer than any other team in the country. Bama's also won 15 straight at home. Remember, we will be with you until the very end of the season on Saturday afternoons here on College Football Today.
What are you talking about?
Leroy, needless to say, that is going to be one interesting game. We talked about it a little bit before in the pregame. What's the key for Auburn?
Auburn is giving Nick Marshall room to do what he does. Let him run the ball, play action, give him the ability to do everything. For Alabama, make Nick Marshall one-dimensional. You run the ball well. You're playing excellent defense. Don't let the moment get too big. Just do what you're supposed to do. Everybody's always well coached on the Alabama team.
Right.
Run the football, play action pass, the same things they've been doing for the last 10 years.
I always put you on the spot, so I'm doing it again. Who wins this one?
I think Alabama wins easily. I think that, at the end of the day, Auburn's been struggling a little bit. Everybody's kind of found a way to slow Nick Marshall down, and that's really all they've had so far. Alabama will continue to do the same thing. They'll come up with a plan to stop Nick Marshall. They've struggled a little bit defensively in Auburn. So now you look at, Amari Cooper, TJ Yeldon, you got Blake Sims, who runs the ball a little bit. It's going to be hard for Auburn to stop that.
Now, before we move on to the other game we're going to talk about, just an update for everybody watching. Mississippi State just scored, which makes it 10-7 Mississippi State. Interesting. right, Leroy? Because you said that they had to do something different, and
Yeah, it looks
clearly
like
they
they're picking up the pace a little bit.
Right.
You know, trying to get things going a little more up tempo. So
had a good talking to during halftime. Clearly,
that's it. That's
that'll
it.
do it. All right, Ohio State defeated Michigan 42-28. I know Leroy's not delighted about that, although the writing was on the wall probably. If Ohio State wins the Big Ten championship, do they deserve to be in the playoff?
Absolutely. They lost their quarterback after the first or second game of the year. J.T. Barrett came in. He struggled the first couple of weeks, and now he's a Heisman hopeful. That's how well he's played. He just got banged up.
Yep.
So I'm more than sure Urban Meyer will be able to find, something that'll allow them to be successful.
Well, but here's the real question, though. Can they win without him? Because you just said what an integral part he is. It's certainly going to affect them.
Well, here's the thing. In order for them to win, whether it's Minnesota or Wisconsin, they're going to have to stop the other team offensively. So they're going to have to maybe rely a little bit more on their defense to slow the other team down because they might not score as many points. But absolutely, if they can do that defensively, they have a chance.
Now, if the Buckeyes get the 4 seed in the playoffs, how do you think, realistically, they match up against that 1 seed, Bama?
Well, Alabama's probably the best team in the country. And without them having enough time to get everybody an opportunity to learn their new position, I do believe that they may struggle. But Urban Meyer is not one of the best coaches in the country for no reason.
Right. All right, fair enough. Florida State, that is in the third quarter. Florida State leads 21-19, so not a huge margin. What do you think about that?
Well, I think Florida State's been playing with fire. Unfortunately, Florida can't really score. They have 19 points, and, they were inside the red zone 3 times in the first quarter because of the turnovers by Jameis Winston. Looks like they're going to just turn it up a notch and win this game rather easily. But, Florida's hanging in there.
Wisconsin is beating Minnesota 20-17. Interesting because that just changed as we were talking.
Right.
So clearly a dynamic game there. What do you think?
I think, everybody, say what you want about what the coach, I think it's Coach Krill, has done in Minnesota. What a phenomenal job that he's done. Minnesota has been competitive. They compete every week. They're fun to watch. They might just be, they might not be able to slow Wisconsin down enough in the third and fourth quarter to win the game, but they're going to compete until the end.
Ole Miss is driving, looking to take that lead back, so we're going to send you back over to the game. Enjoy the second half and be sure to join us for the post game.